VidDevoBible, 7 minutes in the Word of God. Genesis chapter 1, verse 13. And the evening and the morning were the third day. The evening and the morning were the third day. It's not the night and the day. It's not the day and it's not the night. But in Genesis chapter 1, verse 13, as God has said, as we have been told and as we are hearing what the Word of God is speaking to us by God giving it to us from days when it was told around the campfire, the story of creation, when it was related verbally one to another and then communicated to those people who would later write it down. We are told in Genesis chapter 1, verse 13, and the evening and the morning were the third day. When you're talking to your children and you tell them a nursery rhyme, you tell them once upon a time. When you tell them a story, you'll say a long, long time ago in a faraway land. But when you're talking about the Word of God, you don't change the word that you heard. You don't add to or make a commentary of what God has said. You relate that with which God has spoken, and you teach that which you have heard. And this is the word that you have heard in VidDevoBible. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 13, it says, and the evening and the morning were the third day. As we are more than likely easily persuaded to add things, then we would be changing what God has said. As we are so tempted to rearrange the way that God has spoken things, we are better off simply listening to what He has said. If we could become like little children and accept what God has said, we should have faith that would be strong enough to stand the test of time without ever having to argue or debate or discuss or relate in any other way, in any other shape or any other form than what God has spoken and what God has said. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 13, what God has said, what God has spoken, what you have heard here. And the evening and the morning were the third day. The third day has an evening and the third day has a morning. Whenever someone asks you what was the third day about, whenever someone says that there's a partial day or that just a part of the day is a tradition to be used or somehow adds to or takes from what you've already read, then you know that they aren't saying exactly what God said. You know they're not telling the truth of what God has spoken. You know for a fact what the reality of the third day is and what the reality of a day is, with a morning and an evening, even as it says in Genesis 1:13. And the evening and the morning were the third day. We won't take from, nor will we add to, the Word of God, as you have heard in VidDevoBible. For this is your 7 minutes in the Word of God, and this is what God has said. Genesis 1, verse 13. And the evening and the morning were the third day.